Hello, everyone. We're here at Epic headquarters. We have me, Stacy, community manager.
Jim Brown.
Josh Marlowe.
Chris Perna.
And we are here to show you some official Epic Games concept art, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, official isn't really the right term, but it's a working...
You're very official, Chris.
Right, we've kind of coined this term working concept. This is just me basically kit bashing some things into a level and playing with materials and lighting and visual clarity theories and things like that to try and come up with a look that can kind of drive direction across the project.
Awesome. You also have a map, and I saw this. This is this Dave Spolinski's map?
Yeah, this is Dave's map. What's it called? CO4 or something?
CEO
Yeah,
Test 4 or something.
Test CO4. It's in the test
name.
maps folder, and I just grabbed that and kind of gave it this industrial vibe.
Yeah, so Chris called me over the other day, and he said, "Hey, I wanted you to take a look at something." And I was doing something else, and I went over and I looked, and I went, wow, this looks really awesome. And he said, what do you think? And I said, I think you should go for it. And he printed out a copy of it. So we will have this picture available for you to use for your desktop or whatever you want to do, or as for inspiration for what you're doing in the game. And Chris is actually going to give you the first look, and we are going to take a fly through the map, maybe?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let's take a look at the picture. I think we have it queued up down on the...
Actually, well, we're in the map right now.
Oh, okay.
So,
awesome.
so yeah.
Okay.
So right now I'm in Unreal at 4, and we're looking at kind of what we're calling a working concept art. What I did was I kind of took some theories of visual clarity, and I started to mesh this out with some of the things that we had laying around in other packages and from other projects and stuff. That's why it kind of looks a little bit haphazard. The wall columns, for example, are made up of lots of little pieces and things like that. But I think the overall look is clean. It will allow characters to pop off the background. This is not the look for the entire game. What I'm hoping to do is the quality of this. I'm hoping to have to pick up through the game where the lighting plays nice with the materials, and there's some color patches here and there. This, in my mind, represents kind of the sci-fi industrial look. We could go grimier with this, but when we talk about visual clarity and things like that, I think this kind of thing hits that mark. We've got some details, so it's not completely stark. You can see some areas that I haven't really gone over yet, some of the BSP stuff. What we're trying to do now is take a look at where we're at, how detailed we need to go, and what actually building purpose-built meshes for some of these columns and some of the doorways and things will bring to the table, right? This kind of defines a certain look. Alien 1, Outland, kind of mining base type of look. I don't know if the grime is really showing up on the stream, but you know, it is pretty dirty. It's generally chalky and white and kind of dirty and metallic and reflective in some areas and stuff like that. But I think it's going to bring what we're talking about as far as visual clarity to the table. Right now, it's white. It doesn't have to be. We can change the colors, and I'm sure we're going to have a multitude of colors. The way I approached this was I filled in medium frequency detail, big metal plating, tubes and pipes and some of the larger stuff. On top of that, I started to lay in high frequency detail, little fiddly fuse boxes and antennas and pipes and things like that. Those things give scale to the environment. And then on top of that, we started to layer in some color and some decals and some lighting. I think the overall impression is pretty cool. And overall, this is, to me, Unreal, and the entire franchise has always been, I used to use this term a lot, a Tim Burton Batman type of caricature of itself, right? And where I'd like to go with the new franchise is more of a Chris Nolan kind of Batman Begins.
It is Batman Day, in case you didn't know.
I did not know that. But yeah, you know, just something a little more polished, a little more realism, but without going over the top and doing kind of like what we did with Gears or Ut3 and making everything dark and grimy and grungy. I think you could still have detailed environments that look amazing and add color and have visual clarity and have your cake and eat it too, basically. You know?
I think this to me is a really good example of our process that we use internally, where we start with a map that is just kind of the shell, and we just focus on the gameplay. And then kind of independent of us doing that, a lot of times Chris or the art guys will do these little vignettes that are just, what would you call them? Like little theme rooms,
It's viz dev, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing a visual prototype of an area or a map.
That's what I was looking for, visual prototype, right? And it's these aren't necessarily even made. Sometimes you don't even use the maps that we're doing gameplay stuff in. You're just building how you think it should look and how you think it should feel, and getting a sense of scale and color and all that stuff. And
right. Once we nail that stuff down, then we'll play it and we'll say, wow, these columns are too thick, or this wall isn't flat enough, or I'm getting hung up on some of these meshes and stuff like that. And,
well, yeah, I know that some people are looking at it right now and saying, oh boy, I wonder if I'm going to get caught on this. So we haven't even play tested this yet, so we don't know. So
that's not what this is about.
No, this is total viz dev, right? This isn't, hey, I'm Mr. Map Maker and I need all my space and stuff, right? So this actually is a very cramped map too. So by building out some of the mesh work, it got even more cramped, and that's not okay. We're not going to be able to do that, right? So this is purely visual. Hey, here's a quality bar. Here's what lighting should do. There should be lots of ambient occlusion. That the materials and the textures should be light enough to allow for the lighting to hit the darks and the lights that it needs to create volume in the shapes. The color unifies things. Having multiple crazy colors all over the place is cool for some effects, but not so much for others, and that's not kind of what we were going for with this. This could evolve into more of like a Leandri mining colony on an asteroid, right? And the skybox turns into space, and there's a giant tractor beam in the middle of the map flying up and into a cracked asteroid, mining ore, right, magnetically or something down into the facility, and that gives it a sense of place. This is the first step. This is, hey, you know, what is the overall visual identity of this visual clarity idea that we have? You know,
well, this is a big step, because this is what everybody's been really asking: is what should I make my map look like? Where should I begin? And this is the really nice.
Right, and I hope it inspires some people, right? I mean, there was a lot of questions about white things and it being trendy and this, that, and the other thing, and I think this isn't that clean, reflective white that's been flying around. It's got some grime, it's got some wear to it. For me, it feels really good with the lighting, and we'll be playing around with other things too. We're obviously not going to be able to do a castle like this or some of the other tech areas. We actually have some darker stuff that Rick Kohler's been playing around with.
Leandri, you know,
that looks fantastic as well.
Yes.
And
remember the castles and alley stuff.
So the answer to a lot of those questions, and I've read through some of the ones we're going to ask today, is UT is an evolving thing, and it's an all-encompassing thing. There are many different environments in UT, and there's going to be different colors and different environments, but what this does is it gives you maybe a quality bar. Hey, all those different things need to have a lighting quality and a mood about them that feels like this, that gives you the feeling of this.
Yeah. And it also gives our art team a chance to play around just like our design team does, where, I mean, UE4 is as new to us as everyone else, right? So we're playing with how does light reflect off surfaces, you know, how do we add details without overwhelming polygons and ruining gameplay and all this other stuff that, you know, we were just talking about post-process stuff and how it's so different from what we've done in the past. And so this is our chance to, or I should say your chance to play around in there and do some cool art stuff.
Yeah, even for me, like I've just been spending some time just making some prototype floors and things, and then seeing what he's done with them, you know, making pillars and columns, things that you would never imagine your stuff being used. It's like, hey, this shape is inspiring, this is awesome. You know, I can.
And you worked on something recently too in the engine. We had a demo that was played recently that you had worked on.
The Google demo.
The Google demo.
Yeah, so I worked on the Google demo as well as the Apple demo as well.
So one of the other things about detail levels and stuff, if you notice in some of these hallways, I tried to keep details concentrated around doorways and above you, and the floors and the play areas are nice and neat. There's just concentrated areas of detail like this centerpiece here, and these kind of door frames, and detail is very much in the periphery. And it shouldn't, if the hallway spaces are better than this, and meant for mesh work like this, it shouldn't impede gameplay, and it should enhance everything. You should enhance visually and gameplay-wise and all that wonderful stuff. So.
All right, and we have a bunch of questions, and I actually don't even have all of the questions that were asked down here, so we're not going to be taking any questions from the stream today, but if you go back to the thread, Josh and Chris both are going to be answering questions that didn't get asked here today.
Sure, definitely.
And before we go on, I also want to introduce a new member of our team. Some of you may know him. Come on over, Pete. Yeah, you're going to have to, like...
You just come on and wave.
Come over here, share.
Yeah.
Yay, Pete's here.
You can sit here. We have we have Pete Napoli here. He's a gameplay programmer, right?
Yeah, I'm.
Go ahead.
Do I need to wear it, the special one? I'm going to be doing some of the gameplay programming along with Matt Alpe and Joe Wilcox. I did a lot of the multiplayer on Gears, and I'll be doing some of the multiplayer kind of spectator mode stuff for UT. So I'm super excited. I started on Monday. I can't wait to keep going.
Thanks, and we're very happy to have Pete with us.
Yes, we are.
Personal. Okay, so let's get to your questions, and like I said, if I don't get to it on here, please check the forums, and I'll get back to them. Great Emerald asks, what's your opinion on the idea of making weapon models configurable?
You want to take that one, Jim?
So it's something that we've talked about a lot, actually, in the past. We talked about it with UT3, and we wanted to do it. We actually talked about doing configurable, Cliff and I used to talk about doing configurable weapons back before it was kind of the cool thing that people were doing, where you could unlock upgrades. So say you started with the base rocket launcher that fired nothing but a rocket, and then you could later upgrade the ability to load multiple rockets, and then upgrade the ability to do grenades, and you could kind of custom design your own weapons and use them how you wanted to use them, or adjust, like, oh, I want a bigger bigger radius on my shock combo, but it does less damage, so you can kind of play with all these sliders and do all this craziness. And I think it's still a cool idea, and it has a lot of merit. That said, visually, I don't know what we want to do in terms of customization. There's a lot that's recognizable about UT's weapons, and that's kind of the core of the game. So we're a little hesitant to mess with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a fine line with that stuff. So
yeah, it's hard because UT is all about, I see somebody coming with a rocket launcher, and I know exactly what they're capable of with that rocket launcher. And when those variables start to move in weird directions where you don't know what you're running into, it can be problematic, especially for kind of high-end competitive play. The other flip side to that is that if you look at kind of the history of UT and you say like Chaos UT, which just had
which was so awesome,
like so many weapons that did so many crazy things that like it doesn't even matter anymore. At that point, it's just about having fun and doing crazy stuff. So yeah, we could go either direction with it, really.
I might have done the voices of proxy mines at one time.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Interesting. Nice.
Fun times with Flag. Yeah. Another great question that I really like is, will opponents that have armor picked up show differently from those without armor? Like when you pick up the shield belt, you glow. If you pick up different pieces of armor, is there any way that the person who's fighting you can tell that you have armor on?
Yeah, I think we're going to have visual cues like that, right? I mean,
we again, it's something that we're still experimenting with and playing with. One of the cool things about the shield belt is that you can see it. You can see it, but you don't know how much energy is left in it, which is kind of cool, because the guy who has 1 and the guy who has 100 both look intimidating from a distance, so you can't really tell. That said, armor we could do the same thing with. It would be a pretty big discussion in terms of characters, though, if we were going to show, make one an armor vest that could slot on top of every character, or thigh pads, a helmet, whatever all those things were. But we could also do something with like a glowy helmet or a glowy whatever.
Glowy.
Represent that armor.
We could bedazzle them.
Yeah. Awesome.
The approach we have right now is kind of the same we've done in the past, where if you hit someone with armor, we don't really tell you, other than you get the kind of the hit effects. What we've talked about doing is instead of getting blood, you get spark effects until their armor is gone, and then you start getting blood or something along those lines. But
okay, and Great Emerald's last question is about shadow map quality. He would like to see that the JPEG artifact lights get avoided. Is that something that they can do if you're on a lower end machine?
I just think it's going to be something we're going to have to play around with internal. I don't really.
Okay.
I don't really know a solution for that right now. So.
Mac D11 wants to know. He doesn't want to sound like he's being critical, but could we lead the art style in a way that is not the other extreme compared to UT3? So basically, this is what we were just talking about. He doesn't want it to be real white and glowy, and
right,
as opposed to real dark. So
right, and I think one of the things that we didn't do with this map that I just showed was start to layer in decals that some of the overlay decals like grunge and streaks and bird poop and stuff like that. just some of the stuff that makes it realistic and gives it a real sense of place and anchors the visuals. So that stuff's coming. We're going to start playing around with how grungy we should be. My guess is that it'll never be UT3 grunge, but it'll be a little grungier than what we've seen. Just to add a little bit more of that punch. Yeah,
realism,
yeah, totally. So it's not so sterile.
I think some people might be reacting to seeing maps in early development, so you see the very stark plain, just kind of the BSP shells that we have so far, like the deck that's out there that's has some materials applied, but there's basically no geometry in it yet, and that's just because we're in early development. That's not the art direction that we're going for there. So don't confuse the two.
with regards to environment, now that we have such a powerful engine and lighting effects, do we expect problems to be able to see the players at all?
No, I don't think so at all. I think we're going to have to just experiment with that stuff. In the past, we had problems seeing the players because the players were as detailed as the environments and they were lit in the same way and stuff. Now, we will still have detailed characters and detailed environments to an extent, but we have lots more tricks with lighting and post-process and things like that to allow those characters. And we're very much aware of a visual clarity and a clarity of experience for the player. So we will be very much concentrating on that stuff and working to make sure those characters are they really pop, since that's most of the experience in the game.
Yeah, Steve and I have talked a lot about. There's such a call right now for bright skins from a lot of the really competitive community. And there's this almost kind of knee-jerk reaction in the other direction from the non-competitive players who don't want to be running around with glowy gummy bears. They actually want to see the characters. So
some people want to hide in the dark spots and stuff like that.
Actually use the shadows in a way that they're intended to be used. So what we're hoping for is that we can find a good balance where characters are visible, whether they have a separate post-process chain, like Josh and I were talking about earlier, or rim shaders or different lighting rigs, or there's all these different things that we can do there, so that we don't have just pure straight glowing characters, that we have something that still looks good and feels right in the environment, but still maintains that level of visual quality. So it's a big challenge, but I think we'll get there.
Okay, that was by Quillian, but I think I forgot to say that. I always screw this one up. Demonturge? Dementures?
I thought you said something else.
I'm just going to give up on these. Can animations, particularly advanced movement animations like spinning, rolling, dodging, diving, I'm not sure if he's asking as the player or if you're looking at another player, but can they be made distinct and apparent? So like if somebody's dodging, can you tell that they're dodging? Or I was messing around on a map with Joe the other day, and he was dodging out of the way, and from his opinion, he just did a little dodge, but from mine, I could really tell that he moved. So as far as dodging goes, yes, but I'm
it's not just something we're going to have to play around with, right? Animation is one of the things I'd love to evolve with this game type, this type of gameplay, and it's hard because you're again, in a constant struggle of what looks good versus what's responsive, right? You need to turn on a dime. You need to, 360 and 180 and double jump and twin, dodge jump and all that stuff. And that's not what a normal human does. And so, especially in that time frame, right?
Flip.
Yeah, especially in that time frame. So it's been a constant thing, how to make that stuff look good and look natural, but still give the responsiveness without breaking the game. And
I think that's always been one of the strengths of Epic, because I think we have a just remarkably incredible animation team. And the stuff that those guys can pull off just completely blows my mind. And I have no doubt that we'll get there with this game as well.
Yep.
Okay, Mekataj, we've talked about this before, but I knew the question was going to come up again. Which architectural themes can we expect to see in the new UT? For instance, the Necris, which was kind of Middle Eastern, the Asian with the Ronin, the Egyptian.
Well, I think we've already identified a couple buckets, and Dave Smolinski put up a list. We've got, there's a sci-fi bucket, there's an industrial bucket, and there's a Nolly kind of ruin bucket, and combinations of those. That's where we're going to start. Is there room for all this stuff? Absolutely. UT is kind of an all-encompassing universe, so I think if someone wants to make an Egyptian map, it will get made.
I can't believe
right?
you said it.
So yeah, it's a lot of that stuff's going to be up to you guys, right? I mean, it's what do you want? What do you want to do? Let's do something fun, and if you make it and it's fun, then it's going to be awesome.
I think Dave put that graphic up in forums as well.
It is, yeah.
It shows all the different buckets and then the ways that they combine and do all this crazy stuff. But again, that's just one subset of things.
Right, right. That's kind of where we wanted to start. We wanted to really define what are the buckets that make UT, and then move on from there. And then UT is defined by different buckets for different people, but for us, the core of UT was pretty much those buckets.
Yep.
Okay. And Sly, who is the newest recipient of our UT Prototyper banner. Congratulations, Sly. For me, he has a lot of questions. I didn't pick this up. For me, design and visual clarity are immediately linked to each other. So should some questions not fit in the stream topic, feel free to ignore them. Okay, I will do that. Probably not. Okay, so the first question we've already answered. Are you leaning towards lots of white and clean? We're going to be all over the place.
Yep.
And for sci-fi, which is currently super hip, well, we're always super hip, but we're not going to just go that one way. Did you guys look at original maps in unlit and lit mode to see the differences that was done with the lighting and textures?
Yeah, I mean, I posted that stuff to the forums, right? And there's some specific forums in, is it the environment art forums, or? Yeah. I think it's in the environment art forums where I took all three games and I posted lit and unlit versions with screenshots comparing, density of detail and mesh work and texture and shader work and lighting and stuff like that. And it was really good to see all three games side by side. It was like all three had deck, and I chose levels that were in all three games too. So deck was one of them, and I had a shot from 99 deck, 2004 deck or whatever, and UT3 deck, and you could see the stark contrast between UT3 and how far we swung into the dark and dreary and mucky stuff, which at the time felt like it was okay, but.
And a lot of that was lighting, a lot of it was post-process, a lot of it was material,
texture, the texture work too.
It was a lot of different aspects there. So.
And we were learning, we were learning the tech, right? And so it was new. We were doing gears, and I was winning all kinds of awards for visual quality and stuff. And so naturally we'll take it and we'll do this, And it wasn't a good fit in hindsight, but everybody knows everything in hindsight. So yeah.
And the lighting now is amazing. You can make a map look completely different just with lighting now.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
What do you consider more important, the original themes or modern themes? So you more of a Nally guy, or you more something like this now?
I like them all. I think they can all be fantastic, right? I am a dark, hardcore guy, and I like the dungeons and stuff like that. But I find beauty in for example, the level I showed. I like it all. A good art is good art, right? I mean, it's all good.
I'm not sure about this one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So, does anybody know why UT 2004 was a little bit more brightly colored in comic than other games in the past?
That one just went with a very different theme, a different feel. It was kind of a divergent storyline. It went in a weird direction. It was and very much kind of sports themed, and then they kind of went almost over the top into a like WWE wrestling. I don't know. It was so. UT 2003 was actually meant to be Unreal Championship. It was meant to be a completely different product on a completely different platform for a different audience, really. And at the very last minute, DE went and finished that while Epic kind of took over UT 2003 and kind of got that out the door as a PC product. And then, knowing that wasn't quite the right way to go, we immediately followed that up with UT 2004, which is kind of more what our vision was for UT at the time. But that said, it was also built on top of UT 2003, so it had a lot of the same characters and look and feel and that sort of thing. But yeah, it was definitely a little bit more whimsical, a little bit more cartoony and differently over the top as opposed to the gritty hardcore that the original.
And we were a different studio back then, I think.
Yeah.
There was no art direction on those products. It was, hey, let's get together and have a meeting and everybody go back and do some cool stuff. And we worked in conjunction with the community and it worked miraculously, but
yeah, I'm not sure how that worked, but it was good. And we worked with DE.
I mean, we're kind of going back to that now too. I mean, it's art direction is very loose, and we're relying on the community, and we're kind of just doing some cool stuff, and it's got a really good vibe. I think the project.
We need to get more contributions from the environment art guys. Some
Yes,
modelers.
Yeah, Josh.
for sure. Well, Sly does have a lot more questions, so he had so many he actually made his own thread.
Yeah.
So, one of you guys will go back or both will go back and talk to Sly and his thread about his questions. So we're going to jump down to Asula. And in regards to character model visual clarity, in UT3 the characters had colored lights, the LED lights on them. He thought that was a great solution to the bright skins and had a futuristic sporty feel. Is there any chance I can return? And he posted a screenshot of like Tron with the dark skins with the LEDs.
I know what he's talking about. I wasn't a fan of that stuff, but we'll see. As you know, artists and art directors in particular, you want that purity of experience, but you also want a purity of visual, right? And to a lot of us, the glowy bits break that. It's a gameism that kind of breaks some of that stuff. But the technology is further along now, and I think there's a way to make glowy bits look really good and really sci-fi on some of the characters. So we'll see. I mean, we're going to play around with stuff and see. I just didn't like the bloomy, crazy stuff, you know. But if we can do it in a Tron, tasteful type of way, I think that works, right?
Yeah,
There's
we had a problem with that.
we can
And
do.
again, going back to UT 2003, it was glowy lights on the shoulders and nowhere else, and that was distracting and weird. So we got rid of them for 2004, and then we introduced rim shaders, and so we've messed with a lot of different ideas.
Yep.
And one of the things that we were I don't know if Matt finished it or not, but we were just getting into the game recently, was we were going to experiment with the ability to let players choose their own color. So it didn't have to be red, didn't have to be blue, they could do whatever they wanted. And so that'll affect the way that materials are built and how we display that color and all these other things. So I'm sure you guys have a good challenge on your hands and a way to make that look awesome.
Did you skip over Pbrs, his comment?
Oh, you want it? I thought it was kind of the same.
It kind of got answered by what we showed, I think. So
Yeah.
we
answer Sir Briz's questions. Oh. I'm just kidding, Briz. Basically, he just wanted to see some examples of the art that we were.
Yeah, I just didn't want to overlook him.
I don't know what's going on here. Okay, let's see.
Next page.
Next page. Raptor. Raptor wants to know if we're leaning more towards weapon models from UT99, UT 2004, or UT3.
I'll let Chris address that.
I think for the look of the weapons, we're taking a look at what makes each weapon iconic. For example, a flat cannon. What is when you think of a flat cannon, what is it? And I'm sure there's a million different views on that, but we are kind of narrowing down those ideas.
What's your favorite model?
My favorite model is I think it's the 2004 model. It's not the UT3 model. I think that one looks, it's just
Go ahead, say it.
It's odd. It's just odd looking. It looks like a flower on the end or something weird. And I know it's supposed to be a cool mining equipment thing, but for me, weapons should be tapered, and that's your way to touch the world, and it brings you into the world when you're running around in perspective. And that thing just kind of blossoms out like a cherry tree, and you just kind of, it's like a pom-pom that you're running around with. And it always just kind of bothered me a little bit, the design of that one. So I would kind of change that. I think the Ut3 Enforcer needs to be a little beefier. It feels a little pew-pew to me.
We've had a lot of good submissions, too.
The Unreal Enforcer seemed a lot better, a lot chunkier, and so I don't know. We'll see. I think we're going to, like I said, we'll look at all the iconic weapons and figure out what's right.
But are there any? There were a few of the weapon concepts that we've seen that we've kind of liked too, right? The shock rifle.
The shock rifle was one of the ones that I thought was pretty cool.
Send more in. We'd like to see some ideas on what you guys want and what you guys think they should look like.
Pom-pom mod.
No.
No pom-pom. Okay.
Pom-pom gun, it shoots pom-pom.
There you go.
This is a long one. This is from that was Raptor. I said that. This is from Valius. This isn't quite a visual clarity question, but more art direction and design. Chris mentioned previously that he hoped to see multiple skeletons in the game eventually. Does that indicate there will be space for multiple sizes of player models as well, or should character models be planned around the general size of the demo characters in Malcolm?
No, I wanted to see skeletons hanging on the walls. No.
Okay.
I just meant, what I meant by that comment, I was thinking about the scar for that comment, and having a character with a tail, or I'm just totally drawing a blank on the other bestial race there.
Oh, the crawl?
The crawl, yeah, the crawl. Having different skeletons for those type of things, or even like a badass Nolly running around with 4 arms or whatever, they would obviously need different skeletons. And so that's kind of when I made that comment, that's kind of what I was talking about.
Yeah. From a design perspective, at least right now, we want all of our characters to be the same size, just for scale and movement and all those other things. So, if you're going to make the giant character, nobody's going to play the giant character because they're going to be an easy target. Unless we start giving them more hit points, and then we start getting into this class-based system, that's a completely different game than what we're making right now. So.
Doorways need to change. I mean, there's a lot of problems with level design that comes with different scaled characters and stuff too. So it affects the whole everything.
So what about one of my favorite subjects, character customization? Have we thought at all about that? Is that going to be something that we even look at?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't thought about it. We're just worried about getting characters in there and getting character models and stuff right now. So,
well, I remember somebody said that they did want to work on some type of, just being able to change colors and stuff like that.
Right. It would be fantastic to do stuff like that.
I'm not sure if they're
I imagine if there's a marketplace eventually for this, that it would be really cool to have different sets of armor and stuff for characters. That would be great. And it would be great if you could blueprint them into having. And this totally affects gameplay, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but having armor that has special abilities, special powers, I don't know what. But
well, I mean, even
sky's the limit on that stuff. If you guys want to do it.
I like the idea of people being able to customize with, their own clan helmet, their
that
whatever,
too. Yep.
And like you said,
or
build
clan
instead of having to worry about
nice.
build a whole character. I can just build boots, and then I can put those in the marketplace, and they'll become everybody's favorite boots, and I'll sell 5,000 copies of them. Whatever, I don't know, but. I like the idea of it. We just got to figure out a way to work it into whatever character system we come up with.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. To tie in some other questions, can you touch on how Pbr Material System can be used to aid visual clarity while maintaining a detailed environment? And how clear does not specifically mean simple or plain?
That's a Josh question.
It just depends on how you want to build your materials, how you want things to look. Basically, our PBRs, physically based rendering, so all of our materials kind of react to light the way that they do in the real world. So everything has specular highlights, everything has a metalness and a roughness, and those are kind of combined in tandem to get the kind of look you want. So I think Jordan Walker did a pretty good blog post on UnrealEngine.com about that.
Yeah, it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so they should definitely go take a look. We have a bunch of documentation on all that. to get everyone up to speed.
And we're also playing around balancing normal mapped, high poly, low poly process and normal mapped assets versus medium poly kind of modeling. The level I just showed has a little bit of both. And with the physically based materials, you can have something that doesn't have normal maps on it, that has material layers on it, that has that separates out rubber, for example, and chrome and more of a painted material, all on the same mesh, without a normal map, and it looks fantastic. So that's another way that you can kind of experiment with that stuff.
And related to that, Josh, how well does the material system support fallbacks for lower end machines?
So we have a node. Hold on, I wrote it down. I forgot. It's called the quality switch node, and it basically you can switch between like DX9, DX10, DX11, shader model 3, 4, and 5. So if they have a low end machine, they can just add the node at the end of their material,
and he also asks, what's the lowest target hardware? We haven't started talking about that yet, so we're not quite sure. We're going to try to make it run as on many machines as possible, of course. Can character settings and design concepts be pulled from previous Unreal Universe games? For example, if they wanted to bring back John Dalton from Unreal 2 as a tournament character, or any of the characters from UC2, except Raiden. I don't know why not Raiden. And with newly built models and textures, would this be acceptable or discouraged?
I would say you can do anything you want at any point. The only stickiness comes in there is if you're going to try and sell it in the marketplace.
Right, because you couldn't sell a Raiden.
We can't let you sell something that's copyrighted by someone else without their permission. So, but outside of that, if you just want to do it for fun and get it in, play with your friends, go to town.
Sure.
Are there any recurring characters that Epic wants to build in-house for sure, which the community should avoid? Another good question. We are working maybe on a character right now that...
Well, I mean, we're talking about we have Malcolm who's coming in right now, and we're talking about the possibility of including Lauren just so we have a female character as well.
But these aren't new characters.
But and they're not, and they're temporary. They're not intended to be permanent.
And they're just a reskin of like Ut3 characters.
Yeah, so basically, you can do whichever character you'd like to do.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, we have we lay no claim to nothing at this point. If you want to create a new weapon or a new level or a new character, please go for it, by all means. That's exactly what we want.
And what we need. Yeah. I mean, we need, I'd love character models.
Yes, I would not hate it if someone redid the soldier models from the original UT.
Yeah.
So I could have Annika back again.
Yeah.
Due to the lack of visual clarity in UT3, the community came up with bright skins. What do you think about bright skins with their extreme gummy bears?
There you go.
So we
talked about that already.
Yes, we talked about that. We would rather that you don't have to use them, but
we want to find a balance where everybody can play and enjoy it visually, and it looks normal as opposed to bright skins. But I understand why people do that, and so ideally we'll find a balance that makes everybody happy.
And going back to what we talked about with user experience, are there any new plans for the different colors for the teams?
Like I said earlier, we just started this week messing with the ability for you to select whatever color you wanted. That's going to have a lot of design fallout that we haven't dealt with yet in terms of, how do we adjust lighting in maps, how do we adjust character skins, how do we adjust flag color, all these things, HUD and everything. But all of that is fixable. It's just a technological challenge that we haven't gotten around to really addressing yet.
And what about forced models? Like in
So
I want to always have the Juggernaut for everybody.
Yeah, so that's again, it's a competitive play thing where I don't care what character you're using or what you're using. I want to just set it to a default so that everybody looks the same, so that I'm not distracted. Whatever, kind of evens the playing field visually in a lot of ways. It may or may not be an option. I don't know. We haven't gone too far down that road yet.
Okay. Jumpwire says, looking back at your titles, specifically the UT and Gears of War development, it's obvious that some of the UT 2K4 style did flow into your final Gears models. Thematically, are we still going to be looking at the characterized and bloated models specifically on the armor, or we be looking at something more realistic?
Yeah, I think we're going to aim for something more realistic this time around. I think we're going to bring the proportions down a little bit. And
yeah, those giant beefy
I was going to
proportions
say, I look at Chris.
so unrealistic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's real to me.
I think we should bring them back, and I think we're going to do that. I think we're going to do that with the environments. You know, I talked about that earlier, the Tim Burton versus Chris Nolan Batman kind of thing, right? They were, that series got caricaturized as it went on, and I think we went a little overboard sometimes with that. But with this UT, what I'd love to do is bring some of that stuff back, and there's been some fantastic concepts out there. Of normal proportion UT characters that look really good that I'm dying to build or have somebody build,
Loke.
Yeah.
Another Gears of War based question. Is there any color themes, or we already talked about this? Are we going to be muting certain color palettes?
No, I think we'll do what the level calls for, right? I mean, if we've got a space dungeon, it'll be dungeony, and if we've got a high-tech facility, it'll look that way. It's the color and the palette will be dictated by the environment.
It's a very nice way of asking if we're going to desaturate.
Right. Yeah. No, we're not.
Well, I'm really looking forward to somebody doing like a hyperblast where you're flying through space and you're seeing nebulae and planets and stuff like that, and all the wonderful colors. So I hope to see lots of colors out there. And Jumpwire also says you're doing amazing work, and he appreciates it.
Thanks.
And will we be introduced to any new species beyond those from previous games? So are there going to be anything more than Scar and the Nally and the Crawl?
Don't know right now. Currently not in development.
If you built it.
Yeah. Just
okay,
saying.
so Dr. Dre isn't Dr. Dre. Dr. Dre is DDRREE. I had that wrong last week.
Okay.
Or I can pronounce it as Snur. Does visual clarity mean we won't get to see Bleeding Edge UE4 graphic tech? Bleeding Edge, not Bleeding Edge.
No, I think we will see Bleeding Edge. I think we're well on our way, actually.
This is all about Bleeding Edge.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah.
So you talked about some of these already with the Batman stuff. What are other inspirations that you have for visual clarity?
For visual clarity, it's just kind of what I showed you in that initial concept map. Mm-hmm. I think it's keeping things clean at the player level and spreading the love around doorways and in targeted areas that still make it look bleeding edge and modern and things like that, but don't get in the way of player. It's going to be a fine balance, right? So,
and there's a lot more that goes into being bleeding edge than just the number of polygons or the level of detail. I mean, just the lighting model, the shaders, all of that stuff is super hardcore bleeding edge. Even in Fortnite, which is very, very cartoony, but if you look at it from a bleeding edge technology perspective, a lot of that stuff is super high tech.
Yep.
And so, whatever visual style we end up with, I have no doubt that it will end up
bleeding. It will be bleeding.
It will be bleeding, yes.
It will be very bloody.
Daniel's new ambient occlusion. I don't know if you've seen that in Fortnite or not, but it's amazing.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on where exactly does the visual clarity vision manifest? Is it post-processing, textures, lighting, all of the above?
It's all of the above. The way that with the PBR stuff and everything, it all works together. So you've got to massage the materials. You start with a cool model, and then you massage the materials into it. Then you light it, and then you do some more massaging, and it all has to work together, right? Because the materials play off the lighting so much, and the roughness of the material and all that stuff. Do you want to talk more about that, or that kind of hits it on the head, right?
Yeah, I can point people to. There's a company called Don't Nod, DONTNOD, and they did a visual breakout of how materials look at different points in UE4. Mm-hmm. So roughness 0 all the way to 10, metalness, how they kind of play together.
You should post that on the forums.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty valuable, I think.
I'll do that today because it's an awesome article.
And let's see, I'll make Sly remind me of all the things that we're supposed to post on the forum so we don't forget anything today. And will we still get to see super high detailed shock beam being formed with a new UE4 tech?
Yeah.
I think so.
Absolutely.
Now with more shock. Yeah.
More beam.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to ask one more question.
Sure.
And this is from Threadlock. I've always loved Unreal Tournament for the amazing environments and the vistas that make you stop and go, wow. do you think visual clarity can be combined with detailed environments in a way that pushes the graphics to next-gen levels?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, one of the things you didn't see with the map that I showed off, the working concept, as it were, is a cool vista, a cool background, right? Cool skybox. That's something we haven't tackled yet, but we're going to. And
that's a great place to add all that detail that we don't necessarily put in maps.
Right, and it also gives the map a sense of place, like where am I, what am I doing, that type of thing. So yeah, it's
also
very
worth
important.
Mentioning, you mentioned this is a living model, but you didn't really say
living concept.
Or living concept. You didn't really say why. Like you were telling me about how.
Right. What I'd love to do with this.
Hand it off to the artist.
Yeah. What I'd love to do with this is so I've taken it to a certain point, and now how do we make it better, right? What can Josh do with it when I hand it to him? What can Rick Kohler do with it when I hand it off to him? Paul Motter, some of those guys, and then maybe what can the community do with it when I pass it out online, right? That would be a really cool thing to do as well.
So
take a visual prototype like this.
To touch this?
We're talking about it. We'll take a visual prototype like that. Right now, none of this stuff is in UT game, right? I'm just kind of off on the side doing it because it's so messy and there's so much churn to the assets and stuff. But we're talking about getting it in there and getting it out to the community and say, hey, here's our bar. Take it and push it. Go beyond. Make meshes for it. Make better materials. Do better atmosphere lighting. Whatever you can do. And it's all good. At that point, it's many minds coming together to make something great. I think so. This is really.
I know they're going to ask.
It's really just a starting point. Well, it'll be a couple of weeks at the earliest. So maybe 3 or 4 weeks at the earliest. So
keep watching for it. And I do have to ask one more question. I'm sorry. Tricky Vane, that was from Threadlock. Tricky Vane would like to know that he said he's heard the term Unreal DNA thrown around a few times by Perna. And while I generally think I know what it means, I wonder if he could be defined or pinned down to say a little bit more succinctly to a particular group of styles or aesthetic from any of the Unreal games. When you say Unreal DNA, what are you thinking when you say Unreal DNA?
I don't know. There's a certain color and a certain quirkiness to a lot of the Unreal stuff. I can't really quantify it in a word or in a phrase.
And it means something else to everybody.
Right, and there's so many varied environments and stuff, but they all have this overall kind of charm to everything that when you see an Unreal screenshot, you kind of know that that's from Unreal. I'd like this new game, when you see a screenshot from this game, to be our new Unreal, right? And that is what it is. And when I talk about some of the original DNA, I talk about, hey, let's not take the shock rifle and make it a crazy whip or something. Let's not kill all the original work that was done. Let's build on top of that and enhance it and bring it to life in a modern way that our new technology allows. If we could have had this technology back in Unreal 1 days, what would we have done with it, right? That type of thing.
That's a really good way to think about it. I never thought about it that way. Yeah.
So we have one other person here in the wings. Do you want to come say hello?
No.
Come on.
He's not allowed to intrude. We have the community manager from Fortnite standing in the wings. Everybody say hello to KL Smith. And hi KL. We'll be back next week. We hope maybe we'll have Pete on, or we're actually not sure what we're going to talk about. One thing I'm really excited about, we're all excited about, is we are going to have another YouTube video. We'll be posting it tomorrow. Jason Beasley took some shots on film last week. Last week of us playing. And it will be up either tomorrow or Friday, not sure exactly when, but we'll be sure to let you know when it's out there. So look forward to that. The podcast, the YouTube of this video will be up tomorrow. And make sure you stop by the Engine stream tomorrow, because they're going to be going over more 4.3 stuff. There's lots of cool stuff, and that's twitch.tv/Unreal Engine. And I think that's it for us. Anybody else have anything?
Nope, that's it.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody behind the scenes, including Shelley back there and Joe Wilson. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.